Now that we looked at how your users can always access the nearest connection point to your deployment, let's look at how we can auto-scale your deployment size for both increasing the size of your VMs, scale up, or creating additional VMs that can be started and stopped based on user demand, scale out. So what I want to do is move over here to Cloud Desktops and Collection Pools. And I have two different collections here. I have one named Scale Up and I have the other one named Default. So the first thing I want to show you is the new Scale Up collection pool only exists in a single region and currently has no users assigned to it. The Default collection pool has a presence in both regions and has a single user assigned to it. So what I want to first show you is how Default is configured. What I've done is gone in and made changes saying I only want one user per server, and so users between 0 and 1 get one 32 gig 4 CPU VM. When I assign a second user to this collection, that second user will get their own quad core 32 gig RAM VM. And so this is called scale out, where as I add more users to the collections, we're going to add more resources to support that user count. Now you could just as easily say, I want 10 or even 25 users per server, and then after 10 users have been added, then it will provision an additional server. I just chose a single user so that I could quickly show you what's happening here. So I'm going to cancel here. When I go over to the VM instances now, you'll see that we have two VMs assigned to the default collection, one in each region. So what I'm going to do is go back over here to users and add a new user. So I'm going to create a new user right here, and I'm going to assign this user to the default collection and then click create, and now this user will be created for us. So now we've created the second user. Let's create one more and assign this user to the default collection as well. Now that we have three users that are being created now and their status is currently loading, what I want to do is go back over to Cloud Manager and show you VM instances. Remember, we only had two servers assigned to the default collection pool. Now the Itopia automation has started the provisioning of 4 more session host servers, 2 in each region, to now support those 2 additional users we added. Because we have multi-region and this collection pool spans multi-regions, we wanted to make sure each region had the capacity. You can actually customize how the auto-scaling works so that you can scale resources in one location and not the other if you'd like, but by default it's going to make sure both Google regions have the capacity to support that user count. So that's scale out. As we add users to the collection pool, the Itopia automation will start provisioning additional VMs to support that user demand. The next thing I want to show you is the scale up capability. The scale up capability means that as we add users, we will grow the size of a single VM based on that user count. So what I've done is built a little model here that says if I have 2 or fewer users, use a dual core, less than 4 users, use a quad core, and so on and so forth. So basically, every 2 users, the single VM will grow in size. This is handy if you have a piece of software that's licensed per install, not per user, and it's incredibly expensive. So if you have something like this, it may be more cost effective to have one giant VM everyone connects to, as opposed to a whole bunch of smaller VMs that you would have to license individually. Again, there's a cost breakdown there, because when I do the scale out model, like I showed you earlier, we can leverage dynamic uptime for that says only turn on the servers as they're needed. If I have this one 64 core VM that has to run 24/7, whether I have a single or I have 12 users in it, that's going to be more expensive. Now I also want you to take note that this physical VM will be resized when I add users to the collection, and you can choose whether to resize the VM immediately or if you have it resize after hours. I want you to also be aware that we cannot dynamically add resources to a VM, so each time the VM changes size, it's going to create an outage, which is why you can schedule that resize for after hours. So imagine in day 1 you add 10 users into the collection pool, and then day 2, tomorrow, those users can start logging in and they would log in to a 32 core VM. So that's the concept there. Now that we looked at how to configure your deployment to either scale up, the user session host servers or create additional user session host servers. In our next video, I'll show you how to leverage a schedule and dynamic uptime to save on runtime costs.